Thank you very much, David. That's very kind. I'm here tonight to introduce the first honoree, a friend and colleague, and sometimes even a mentor, Dr. Roger Gibbins. Canada West Foundation will celebrate its 40th birthdays, 40th anniversary next year. The foundation came to life in 1971, baked, I would say, with two essential ingredients. One part was grievance and Western alienation, a sense of we want in, combined with an even more important other part, anchored in the confidence that we in the West are strong and proud Canadians and contributors to this country, and not some backwoods bunch of knuckle-draggers. Roger came to the foundation about 12 years ago, and it was Roger who emphasized, accelerated, and I would say turbocharged the latter part that we are strong contributors, and it was Roger who focused on and pursued that strong contributor, Western Canadian contributor to the agenda. Just as the West has become a place to watch, Roger brought that to the foundation with a focus on building the West, on a cities agenda, on land stewardship, on a fiscal responsibility agenda, and using our resource wealth wisely for today and for future generations. All that with the theme that Roger brought, that he basically said, the West is in. Now let's get down to work and let's build a better nation. And we at the Canada West Foundation, under Roger's leadership, have done exactly that. Roger, I speak on behalf of all of your Canada West friends, colleagues, members of staff, alumni, directors, when I say congratulations. Congratulations on this well-deserved honor. We are very, very proud of you. And Roger, we still have a lot of work left to do. Roger Gibbins, ladies and gentlemen.
Put this right here for you, Roger. Okay, thanks. Okay, well, 20 minutes from now. Well, thank you so much, Jim. This is a very odd room because, of course, when you speak out front, no one's there. Everyone's here. To me, this feels a lot like what the Academy Awards must feel like. So many people to thank. The Public Policy Forum, of course, for this honor. My colleagues at the University of Calgary, who unwittingly launched me down this particular path. The board of the Canada West Foundation, who has been very tolerant over 12 years when sometimes I manage like a political scientist and do policy work like an accountant. I want to thank my friends and colleagues at the foundation who have been so supportive, so much fun, and just so bright and engaging. All of you, of course, for coming here tonight, and my wife Isabel, without whom none of this would have been worthwhile. I also want to acknowledge my fellow award recipients, Clay Riddell, Martha Piper, Ron Hicks. I really feel humbled to be in your shadow. Now, at a time like this, there's tremendous pressure to say something profound, to have people leave the room saying, to themselves, I'll never think of the world in the same way again. But instead, I'm just going to tell a quick story. And I'll take you back to 1973, even farther than David did. Isabel and I came to Calgary in 1973. There were only 2 jobs available in Canada at that time, one in Sackville, New Brunswick, and one in Calgary. It was a closer call than you might have thought. But Calgary was closer to friends and relatives. And what was apparent when we arrived in Calgary in '73 was how Premier Lougheed was beginning to transform the political landscape in Western Canada. Now, I tried to avoid this to some extent because I was digging into my new job in the Ivory Tower, catching my breath after my thesis, learning about teaching, doing all sorts of things. But my new life was disrupted by the department's new research grants officer, the notorious Tom Flanagan. I was bullied by Tom, and I use the word bullied very advisedly, into cobbling together a research grant application. And so I decided I would do some survey work in Calgary looking at Canadian nationalism, how Calgarians looked at the world, Canada, Quebec, the United States, their own part of the country. To my dismay, my application for a research grant was rejected. And the reviewer said, he was a he, I could figure that out. The reviewer said he would be pleased to support the project and approve funding for the project if Dr. Gibbins agreed to do this work in London, Ontario, or Hamilton. Because he said, it's inconceivable that somebody can do work on Canadian nationalism in Calgary. So I was probably too young and too angry, and so I actually appealed it. To my amazement, the appeal was upheld, and the work went ahead in 1974. And I built in some questions, partly because of this reviewer, on Western Canadian discontent. And I drew those questions from Dr. David Elton, who at that time was becoming the intellectual head, arms, feet, legs of the Canada West Foundation. And so I began then what was really a 36-year engagement with the Canada West Foundation. And I reported the results of the study just as Peter Lougheed continued to shake up the Canadian political landscape. So in a sense, I felt I rode on the coattails of Peter Lougheed then and for the next 35 years. And in a sense, Peter in a major way, myself in a very minor way, were doing the same thing and trying to tell a different story about Western Canada and about Canada. Now, why am I mentioning this tonight? Because I can't imagine today anyone making the same recommendation. I can't imagine. And in fact, if you wanted to understand the modern face of Canada and the modern face of Canadian nationalism, this is precisely where you'd want to be, or Edmonton, or Vancouver, that this is where the new Canada is emerging. So Peter, to borrow a phrase, we've come a long way, baby. Thank you very much for coming tonight.